Hey Snowboard Addiction, Taevis here. In this video, I'm going to show you the technique you can use to ride every single ride-on feature in the park. Jib features can be intimidating to get into because a lot of people, when they first try, slip out in an unexpected and painful way. But every time this happens, it's because of a very simple and predictable issue. And that is having your weight shift away from the center of your snowboard. Rails and boxes are smooth, non-grippy surfaces, which means you lose any ability to change your momentum when on the feature. This means whatever momentum you have getting onto the feature, you'll have for the full duration of the feature. So if you hit a box with sideways momentum, that momentum will carry you off the side of the rail. Most falls happen because instead of going with this momentum, you try to move against it, making your body and your board go two separate ways. But this is how you can avoid this every single time. First is finding your stack position. A stack position refers to having your weight centered over the balls of your feet while maintaining a completely flat snowboard. You do this by adding a slight bend to your legs and keeping your body aligned with your snowboard. The more you bend your legs, the more you will have to offset the weight. You do this by maintaining a strong core, keeping your back in a straight line while squatting down. Think about doing a proper squat. The more you squat down, the more your chest will go forward in coordination with your hips. This is very different than breaking at the waist. Breaking at the waist is when you let your upper body hinge forward, not in correlation with your hips. Think about trying to touch your toes. Practice getting into a stacked position and squatting down, maintaining your weight over that centered point of the balls of your feet. Do this until you have a comfortable range of motion, maintaining an aligned body position throughout the full range. If you want to take this training to the next level, you can use the jib bar. This will let you go and get comfortable with the feeling of hitting a feature, and it will make it much easier to tell if you're making any mistakes that would cause any issues on the slopes. This will allow you to make any adjustments you need to make sure that your first feature is a massive success. A key note is that your stacked position changes depending on the angle of the slope. Say you're on a down box, you'll have to shift your weight forward so that you're stacked with the angle of the feature. This is an important part of hitting any non-flat features. Your stack position will work at any speed when hitting a feature, but if you're going faster than you feel comfortable with, you'll have a higher chance of breaking your stacked position. And if you go too slow, you're going to be spending more time on the feature. If you do hit a box without enough speed, it's important to stay stacked and relaxed until you ride off the feature or stop. Besides this, there's nothing you can do except for going with your momentum. So going too slow or too fast isn't a big deal as long as you keep stacked. What can really mess you up is what we call a last second speed check. This means when you're coming into a feature, you go to slow down, swapping edges a lot of times or very last second. This will throw you onto your edge, making it hard to stay stacked with a flat base. That's why when hitting a rail or box, I recommend finding a drop-in point. Drop-in points are a spot that you can stop at and then go straight from. This lets you focus on your stack position instead of needing to worry about your speed. In order to find the right speed, test a few drop-in spots, just riding beside the feature. When you get the speed you like, you can use it to hit the feature. The first step is your takeoff. Ideally, every time you hit a jib feature, your momentum carries you in a straight line from the start of the feature to the end. This is determined by your angle of your takeoff. If you take off on an angle, that angle will continue for the full duration of the feature. This means you want to hit the box as straight as possible while maintaining your stacked position with a completely flat base on your snowboard. You can train this by going down the slope. Find an empty slope and practice going from side slip to straight. When holding a straight line, keep your base as flat as possible. You should be able to look back up at your line and see an evenly spread out straight path. You're training this because you need to make sure that your base is completely flat when on the feature. If you aren't sure if you're keeping a flat base, another great way to test this is to draw a box in the snow, hike up and ride through it, pretending it's a real box. If your board line is straight and the same thickness as your board, that means you kept your base flat. If the thickness thins or angles or curves, that means that you used edge pressure and need to practice this step more. This is the same form you will want on every single jib feature. So by taking the time here, you can ensure that your first box hit will go smoothly. When you put all these steps together, you get a 50-50 that works every time. Recap. Find a drop-in point. Enter your stack position. Ride in a straight line. Keep a flat base as you ride onto the box. Hold this position throughout the feature. Keeping your eyes forward, ride off the feature and ride away. I'm Taevis from Snowboard Addiction, and our goal is to improve your riding.